We have got a lot to do today. Welcome back to the channel, boys. It's Brash Garage, and we have tons of work to get finished up to get this car ready to go boosted, and that means more work on this engine today. I think I'm finally gonna go ahead and tackle the timing belt situation. Can't get an oil pump for it. All I can get is real expensive race oil pumps, way overkill for what I need, and it's just useless spending. The OEM ones from Honda, which is really the only ones I'd be comfortable with aside from race oil pumps, are out of stock till like midsummer. And they're almost $500. So I'm gonna reuse this oil pump. However, we have a new timing belt, tensioner, springs, pulleys, water pump. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that retimed today. And then I think we're just gonna leave that block and the head how they are and paint the valve cover. Just because I don't know if this setup's gonna be in there for that long to go and do all that extra stuff. But we have our turbo back. It got the compressor housing got drilled and tapped for the vacuum fitting to run to our wastegate, and my top mount turbo manifold from PLM for the B18 is in my city. I just have to get notified to go pick it up, and then we'll have that. And then in about a week or so, I should have my billet solid auto to manual hydro 3-bolt post billet 85A duration engine mounts for this. That was a mouthful. I was gonna start pulling the B16 today, but I forgot that this isn't even timed yet and we haven't even painted the valve cover. So without further ado, let's drag this engine out. Let's open this timing belt kit and let's see if you know what the hell we're doing. Before we get into too much timing belt stuff, I gotta show you how cool this new mow tool is. I bought 2 cans literally just to display at the shop. They have like a heritage line. This is the 80s 10W40, modern classic, young timers, high zinc content, semi-synthetic. I have no vehicles that this oil can even go in 10W40, but I tell you what, it is gonna look good in the background of the shop. I'm gonna start redoing my whole space, getting more shelving, making this look better, so then I can kind of have some stuff up on the wall just for nice background aesthetics. But they have the 80s. And they also have the 90s right there as well. Super cool stuff, kind of just like heritage memorabilia stuff. It even comes in the metal cans, just a little 2-liter. This one's more usable, 10W30, but to be honest, I doubt I'm even gonna use either of these. Just kind of cool to have, and once we start getting banners and having the full shop space, I'm gonna transform this whole place with Brash Co banners, Outlaw EG, HKS, the whole 9. It's gonna look a whole lot better in here. Also for the turbo, I got the feed line, stainless steel braided, and I have the drain line, stainless steel braided. Came with all of these fittings right here. Feed, drain, fittings, oil pan bung. So all of that for oil supply for the turbo is here. Aside from the sandwich plate, I'm gonna get a Speed Factory Racing sandwich plate, and then everything oil-wise is good for the turbo. Okay, now that I've got everything cleaned up here, I can explain it a bit better. Since this is an interference engine, you got your head, you got your bottom end. Those need to be in sync, otherwise the pistons in the bottom end will meet the valves in the top end, crush each other, resulting in your motor being absolutely fucked. So, as we can see here, both of these are up, but they look a little tilted to the left, but that's not really what you want to be concerned about. You got this dash right there, that dash right there, and then this dash right here, and then there's a line on the plastic cover behind it that you guys can see just there. So as long as these 2 lines are right on that line on the plastic cover and also facing each other, the head is in time. Now the bottom end needs to be in time as well, and you're going to do that with this crank sprocket. So you see right there where there's a little cut in the sprocket itself, and then you see that little arrow right there on the block. Those 2 need to be directly lined up with each other. As we can see, just like that they are. So as long as that dash is meeting that arrow back there, that means your bottom end is in time. And as long as these 2 cam sprockets dashes are facing each other and in line with that plastic piece in the back, it is perfectly in time. First thing to do to take the tension off here is we're gonna have to release this spring and then undo this, and that'll relieve the tension. Then we're gonna undo the bolts to take out the water pump, put the new water pump back in, put the belt tensioner on, make sure it's all timed up, tighten it down, and what do you know? Retimed. First thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take this bolt, reinsert it back into here just because it's on an engine stand and I need a way to turn this engine over. So I'm just gonna go ahead and ram this home so I can use this to actually manipulate and rotate the engine. Another thing you're gonna wanna do is make sure your spark plugs are out of the cylinder so there's not so much compression in there and you can freely turn it over. But I'm just gonna ram this home with the old Milwaukee. This will be tight and allow us to spin the engine. And then what we're gonna do from there is we're gonna take the spring out, release the tension, we can pull the belt off, reinstall the new belt, put the spring on the tensioner and just run this down, but don't tighten it. It'll all be loose. Then you can push this tensioner up till the proper tension is there. Tighten this down, and then everything in theory should be good to go. And I just want to preface this by saying that I've helped do a timing belt on an H series. I've never done one on a B series. This is my first time. This is not a how-to video. Is there better ways to do this? Probably. Am I doing it the best way? I don't really know. All I've done is watch videos, read forums, and I'm gonna try this out myself. Spin it over. If it holds tension, nothing hits, we're gonna call it good. Okay, there we go. Tensioner off. Okay, and just like that, we have our old tensioner off. And as you can see, it does make some noise. And it's a little loose. It's got some play and makes noise. If you look at our new tensioner, zero play, solid. Now we can freely take our belt off. And there is our belt. It's time to take off the old water pump. There might be a little bit of water or coolant, sorry, that comes out of here, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Oh, I was wrong. Oh, I was so wrong. Okay, this is messy. Alrighty. Yikes. That gasket has definitely seen a little bit better days. I am going to throw some gasket maker just around it just to ensure it seals properly, and we're going to have to scrape the mating surface clean, and then we can install our new water pump and get back on with the installation of the timing belt. Water pump mating surface is clean. Now let's go ahead, install the gasket and some gasket maker to this rig. Looks like it goes on just like that. Alright fellas, I didn't film most of it because it's straightforward. It's 5 bolts, take it out, put it in, put some gasket mixture on it, make sure the gasket hasn't fallen out. But there is our new water pump successfully installed. Now it's time to put the tensioner on with the spring and then get the new belt on. As you can see, the exhaust cam is perfectly where it needs to be, but the intake cam shifted down a little bit. Not sure what's up with that. We're gonna put the belt on and see if it straightens itself up with some tension. As you can tell here, one end of this tensioner spring is a little skinnier than this end. The fat end goes on the top, this side goes on the actual tensioner. We're just gonna leave this loose so that we can manually adjust tension. Now it's time to get the belt and install it. Our crank hasn't moved, but these have. Alright guys, so that dash is lined up on the belt and that dash is lined up on the belt. That's the easiest way to see if you're off a tooth. These two line up together and this bottom crank is off just a hair, but not a full tooth over. So it looks like it's just a little bit of a rotation and tension and it should be good. Alright guys, so as you seen there, I took my handy dandy pry bar and just deep in there, there's a little crevasse that you can sink this thing into and use it to pry up. And you're not like pushing up towards the top of the engine, you're kind of pushing this way so that this spring can have less and less tension on it. So I literally just put it in there and pushed up almost as hard as I could, tightened it down, and now it looks like tension is about where it was on the old belt. You can almost get a full rotation. This one's about a quarter, this one's about a quarter. Down here is super tight, and right here is super tight. So if we go ahead and turn the engine over by hand, and I did it once and everything lined up. There's our two dashes there, lined up evenly with the head, and then there is our mark lined up with the bottom. So if I take my ratchet here, you guys are gonna have to listen very carefully. And just like that, I didn't hear any noises, and I doubt you guys did either because it doesn't hit anything. Once again, after a full rotation, lined up, perfectly lined up. Now that everything's lined up, make sure you do this tensioner down to 40 foot-pounds. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this on. I have to take the crank off to do it, so I'm gonna stick this on so that's on there, and then I'm gonna put the crank on. We're gonna rotate it a few more times, make sure all is well, and we are golden. We are in time. Boom, boom, lined up top of the head. And this mark is just like a hair off, but if you were to push it a tooth forward or a tooth backwards, it would be so much farther off. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this good. If it's not, please let me know in the comments below. But that is us retiming our B18 B1. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And please, if you guys notice me do anything wrong in this video, put it in the comments below. Because like I said at the start, this is not a how-to. This is a basically watch me for the first time do it on an engine like this by myself. So I hope everything's good. The tension's the same as the old one. I tensioned the tensioner pretty much as hard as I could with my pry bar, torqued it to 40 foot-pounds, torqued this to 130 foot-pounds. Tension is good on both. Cam gears line up perfectly. This is pretty well lined up. It's like an 800th of an inch off. That's how it was on the H22 as well, and that was good, but the timing belt tensioner failed, releasing all tension on the belt, resulting in catastrophic engine failure. However, I think this one's gonna be good. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. Like I say, if I screwed anything up, let me know. Until next time, boys, peace out.